and welcome back again to the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with a daily race beat at the Nürburgring GP track, driving the Group 4 cars. It's a GT4 Evo, we're basically in there. Seems to be a very overpowered car recently on certain tracks, this car. It seems to be when traction is required and the four-wheel drive system is an advantage. This car now seems to be the go-to for car selection. It's got a lot of grip, it handles very similarly. You have to drive it exactly how you drive the Mazda. As you can see there, we're starting in P2, the race has started and we're going straight into the P1 slipstream. We were going to have a little look down this inside here. We got a massive slipstream off the start and we got a real nice boost off the start also. So I had a little look, decided to fake it and move down the right, went down the left hand side and then braked early and tried to undercut him on the inside, and we got that done reasonably well there. Now we're side by side. I have to give him respect though on the inside there. He's got obviously the line, so I give him plenty of room, and I decided to give him extra room because I wasn't sure exactly where he was, so I ran a little bit wide there just to make sure we didn't come into contact. And then we're really close going through this corner again, and we're trying to get that power down really early. This Evo really does grip and bite into the ground. It's even, I'd say it's got even more grip than the Mazda. It's really weird. It took me a while to get used to this car. At first I was thinking this car is just not very good and I don't understand how these other people are getting this time, but once you get used to how much speed you can take into the corners, how late you can brake, it really does start coming to you. As you can see there, we're looking back on ourselves now as I'm trying to put some pressure on. I'm having little looks on every now and then to see where like he's going to be weak, because you know I'm in his slipstream, so there's going to be opportunities to try and make a move somewhere. Trying to make sure I don't make any serious errors as we're now jumping on board. As you can see how close we still are on this lap 1. Obviously he's trying to push really hard on lap 1. You can see the gap we've built up now already to P3, 2 seconds ahead, so you can see we're really pushing hard on this opening lap. But obviously when we're going to start fighting, we're both going to start losing time as he runs a little bit wide going through that corner, pushing too hard. I go a reasonable line and then get myself a lot earlier on the apex, able to get the power down really early, and we're in the slipstream now, so we're going to have a little look, can we make a move into this chicane now. So building that slipstream up, I stay in the slipstream as much as possible, and then as soon as I can like come out of the slipstream without hitting him, I'm out that slipstream, try and brake reasonably late. He doesn't really give me any space on the inside and I kind of didn't have anywhere to go, so I took back into his slipstream. You can see there, looking back at ourselves, tucking back into that slipstream and trying to get back in the slipstream for this straight now and getting a good exit. I really wanted to concentrate on the exit because I knew I was already close, so we're going to have a little look and see if we can make a move now into turn 1. I seem to be very good on the brakes with this car into turn 1, and I did start realising that, so again I pulled out. I can see that I'm quite far back, but I decided to do a real late brake and we braked reasonably late. I kept it on the inside. He did shut the door on me, however we didn't even come into contact then. I was quite surprised. I expected, it felt like there could have been contact, but when I watched it back in the replay there wasn't actually any contact. But then he goes wide, I try and have a little look on the inside, I back out of that, decide to come from a wider angle, and then he slams on there. I really don't know whether that was deliberate or what, but we get a 10-second penalty for that. When you watch this in slow motion, it's really dubious. I don't want to say it's deliberate, but just watch how much he's braking in. Now at this point we're pretty much at the speed you'd start accelerating nearly like there, and then look how much he's still braking at that point. I find he's pretty much gone down to 35 miles per hour, which you just don't take that type of speed through that corner. So it'll be interesting to see what our speeds are on the next lap through that same corner, just to compare, because he went down to about 36-37 miles per hour. We're going to have a little look from the replay camera now and see what it looked like from that angle. As you've seen, I put a lot of pressure on, got myself on the inside there, and then he ran a little bit wide. I give him plenty of space, tried to do the undercut a little bit to get a better line through the corner, and then maybe have a little look on the inside. But then I decided to pull out of that, tucked back onto the right hand side and tried to get a better exit there. And look how much he braked. He really did slam on there, which I find it a bit weird. I don't want to call him out for it, but was it deliberate, was it not? I'll let you guys decide. Leave in the comments, let me know what you think of that move. Was he right to do that? Or, I mean, he has the right to do that in a way because he's controlling the race pace, he's in the lead, but I felt like he braked quite aggressively. And like, if you're going to do that, normally what you do is you just lift a little bit, you don't brake aggressively like that. I found that a bit naughty, but I'm not going to hold, you know, it's not worth getting in a mood about when you're racing. The penalties come so frequently now in this game, I just kind of ignore it and just get back on with the racing, as I wanted to try and beat him, even though I know that he's obviously got a very small penalty. I think he only got a second penalty and I got a 10-second penalty, so I wanted to just try and beat him on the track before the finishing line, although I've got to take that 10-second penalties, 10 seconds worth of penalty before we get to the finishing line. But you know, we're very evenly matched. I think he was just outside the top 10 stars. I jumped on very late after doing Brands Hatch. we have got another very good race to upload from Brands Hatch. I joined the daily race and it was pretty much like an FIA race. I think the top 15 cars were all pretty much in the 1 minute 22s in qualifying, so it shows you how competitive that race was. And I will upload that soon. I just didn't want to upload it today because I uploaded Brands Hatch yesterday. As you can see there, we're trying to put pressure on still, trying to see if we can find the space to make a move on P1, trying to find any sort of weakness in his drive, and he seems to be very strong off that final corner. So again, I can't really now make a move into turn 1 like I did on the previous lap. I've just got to try and stay in his slipstream and see if we can get close somewhere else. This was my first race on this track. I just jumped on, even though my qualifying lap wasn't brilliant, it was good enough for P2. It was 2 minutes, I think it was a 0.6, a 202.6, but I felt like I could get very close to a 201.9, maybe a 202 flat. I should have done it on 1 lap, and I cut the chicane at the end of the lap, trying to push too hard. As you can see there, I ran a little bit wide on that corner, but compared to how a lot of people were taking it, wasn't that bad. And again, I was trying to keep it reasonably in the limits. You can see I'm putting full lock on this, just not much you can do really. Following again behind P1 as he's really trying to break that slipstream at this stage. You can see he's driving really aggressively. I'm just trying to keep it reasonably cool and stay in the slipstream, trying to see if I can find an opportunity. If he makes a mistake, and then we can get in his slipstream and make another possible attempt of an overtake. Obviously that point where he brake checked me really lost me a bit of time, because he was then straight back on the power as soon as he pretty much brake checked me, and then he was pulling away. So not really much I can do at that point, as we both run really wide there. It's pretty much, again, like I say so many times, if one car does it, the car behind does it. As we're going to jump on board with P1 now, looking back on ourselves, you can see P3's actually managed to stay reasonably close to us now because of the battling and the time we lost in that corner. He's not too far back, although he wasn't close enough to get in the slipstream, so I was reasonably happy that I'd be able to pull away from him, because on the opening lap he just didn't really have the pace. So I'm just going to keep trying to push this P1 into making a mistake somewhere, trying to use his slipstream to get really close, and trying to pick an opportunity to make an attempt at an overtake, although he seems to be driving really solid at this stage without making any errors. So again, through the chicane I was trying to push really hard. You can see the aggression on the way we're taking the chicane, really bouncing over the chicane, and just trying to get as much speed out of this Evolution. This was my first ever race in this car, but it wasn't actually that hard to drive. It was a really easy car in terms of its grip. If you've driven the Mazda before, it's identical to that. It handles exactly the same, so there's not much difference really. Both four-wheel drive cars and both very similar in the handling. So we can see there going into turn 1 again, getting very close on the braking. You can see how close I was really strong on the brakes, and then trying to just stay with him through these corners, trying to aggressively throw this car into the corners. You really got to get a wide angle in and then really throw it into the corners. Again, running on that green AstroTurf, but you can see pretty much everyone was doing. A lot of people were going further out than that, and then going through these corners again, trying to swing the car through the corners and trying to get in his slipstream and find a way to make a move on this driver in P1. It's going to be a very hard task to get anywhere near him, because he was driving really well. You know, he'd done a fast qualifying lap of a 202.1, so to be able to find somewhere past him was going to be difficult. But this is probably one of my favourite tracks on the game. It's one of my stronger tracks, as you can see there. We've pulled out more of a gap on P3 now. He's a little bit, I had a little look behind just to check where he was, and he was nowhere near. He's 2.5 seconds behind, so we're able to just concentrate now on attacking P1 and seeing if we can force him into an error on this final lap. We're coming into the last few corners of this race, and I really wanted to put some pressure on him and see if we could make some sort of move. It's going to be pretty hard to get any sort of position in this race, I was thinking at this time, because we've got a 10-second penalty to take, and on the track map, when I looked on track map, there was pretty much 4 or 5 cars well under 10 seconds within me. But obviously if I take it right on the finishing line, it's not going to take that long to finish it. As you can see there now, very close to P1. I'm going to be able to make a move. I decided to go in slipstream, and then I pulled over to the left. Really, I should have stayed in slipstream a bit longer. I realised I took back in for a brief second, went to have a little look there, and then I just backed out of it. I thought, no, it's not worth the risk. I knew he'd shut the door on me, and I didn't want to risk getting another penalty. It's just not worth making a move from that position, and I just settled for the P2. But I pushed him as hard as I could. I felt like I'd give him a good race in my first race in this track, and it was entertaining. And this is just highlighting the issues with GT Sport at the moment. Look how many people are braking at the finishing line. I'm braking to P2, I get overtaken, but then he's still not took his penalty. I go over the line, and it's just chaos. You can see pretty much everyone in the top 5 there had penalties to take at the end, and I come away with P2 still somehow. So it does highlight the issues with the game at the moment, for how easy. You know, I don't feel like that was worth a 10-second penalty. I don't think it was worth any penalty. No one got to any harm from it. I can't predict that he would have braked that hard. I didn't even go back and actually have a look how fast he was taking through the corners on the next lap. It'll be interesting for anyone to go back and actually have a look to see what my speed was on the next lap through that corner at that point, to see if it was anywhere lower than 36, 37 miles per hour. I can't see it being lower than that. Maybe we'll have a little look on this go now just to see what sort of speed I was taking through that corner. As you can see there, we were running free rear brake balance with this car. I did find it a lot better. Did try running the 0 brake balance, and it wasn't getting enough turning on the car. 4 felt a little bit too much for me, but 3 felt pretty much perfect. You do need to run it more rearwards with the 4-wheel drive cars, obviously, because they do tend to understeer, so you need to get the rotation in on the car with the brake bias. As you can see there, this race 2 now, we're starting in P1. We've got the guy who finished in P3 right behind me. So again, wanted to just concentrate on getting it through the first corner reasonably well. I could see he wasn't able to put any sort of challenge in on me on the first corner, so I got away reasonably well there, and going through these corners, just trying to keep the lines tidy. Obviously now I'm in the lead, I can try and keep the track limits a little bit more in check and make sure that we don't run too far wide anywhere. We missed the apex on that corner, really strange one. But you can see again, we were going through that corner about 45 to 50 miles per hour. So why he went down to 35 miles per hour, I'm really confused. Let's have a little look on one of the later laps. We'll have a look on our fastest lap, because I've got the fastest lap, whole lap on this video. We're going to skip some of this video out because obviously it wasn't as much of a challenging race as the previous race, obviously with the driver not in. As you can see there, I'm trying to break the slipstream again, going over to the right hand side, tucking back in for the racing line. You can actually get away with doing it there quite well, because if you go to the right, it's still a good line for defensive, because the inside line on this hairpin is a lot more grip than the outside. If you run wide around there, you can lose a lot of time, especially when you're trying to get back on the power. As working our way up this hill through the really fast chicane, and we've got P2 still hanging on to our slipstream there. I was really trying to break that slipstream. It's quite strong, but I felt like I had the pace to break the slipstream if I got a good chance. But I'm driving a little bit scruffy, you can see, running wide, and then not really getting the best entry into that corner. And now I'm getting quite impatient now, because I can see that he's going to make a move on me, and I'm thinking, I was getting a little bit worried, have I messed the start of this race up? And then going into the chicane, going reasonably okay, but you're going to watch as I hit this curb, I attack it well, and I attack that curb, and the whole front of the car rises a bit, and because the front of the car's in the air, I've got no front wheels on the ground to bite in to turn in. So we go a little bit of a rally session, just get back on the track, take quite a wide line for the corner, give him plenty of space. I didn't want to come into contact and get a penalty, and we managed to get right back into his slipstream. And we're going to have a little look into turn 1. I can see I've got a massive slipstream, a speed advantage, so I'm going to brake a little bit late, not too late though, it's going to be like a dive bump. We're already past him into the apex. We make the corner pretty much perfectly, stay within the track limits, and then go to turn left here now, and he just, I don't know whether he thought I wasn't there, but he just sideswipes me and gives me a penalty. He didn't really, I'm guessing he didn't realise I was there. But then going through this corner, you can see there, we're going through that corner. The lowest speed we took that time was 48 miles per hour. Now he went down to 38 in that 35, 36, something like that in that first race. So that really makes me think that what he was doing was deliberate in that first race. But anyway, you can see there the P2 made an error coming out of that chicane, and we're going over the line to start lap 3. This was our fastest lap of the race in this race. It wasn't an amazing lap, but it was a reasonable lap. And I'll have a little look on the corner that in the first race the driver braked. I feel like he brake checked me, because there's no reason why he would have been going as slow as he was through that corner for any normal reason. You can see there, taking a reasonably normal line, braking quite late, trying to get in on the apex, and let's just see, 48 miles per hour is our lowest speed. Now, if you want to lift off, you don't brake an extra 13 miles per hour in the corner. That's dangerous in my view, and that caused a big issue. I had to really panic and slammed on. You could see my braking. If you watch my braking in that first race, you'll see the bar go full on maximum braking, where you wouldn't normally be doing that. You'd be trail braking into that corner and easing the braking off. But I really can't work out whether it was deliberate or whether he was just trying to take a different line, or whether he was just trying to upset my exit speed. But either way, I think he braked a bit too hard, and you've got to be careful doing that, because it's not only dangerous to other drivers, but you're going to get penalties for everyone, yourself included, and it's silly to do that. I don't mind if people just lift off the throttle or something like that mid-corner, just to secure their line, because when someone lifts off the throttle, you kind of can see it, and it's not like an instant slowdown, like where someone's just braked in front of you. Like that was just like a panic moment. If someone runs out at you on the road and you have to slam on, that's what it felt like when I was driving. So like I say, make sure you leave in the comment section what you think about that, whether you think it was right or whether you think he was a bit wrong. I don't think he was wrong to lift off there and give himself a better exit, but what I do feel like he braked a bit too hard and aggressively, considering how close I was behind him. But I did question him at the end, and he just put a question mark. I don't think he really understood English, but I wasn't really going to hold it against him anyway, because there was no real, it wasn't that bad. We still came home in P2, as you can see there. We go over line 2 minutes 3.1, not the best lap, but not too bad. I felt like there was a lot more potential. I was definitely getting more used to the track in this race, considering no slipstream, and I think that lap pretty much matched my previous race best lap when I had the slipstream also. So now we're over 2 seconds, approaching 3 seconds ahead of P2, and just trying to concentrate. We've got obviously make sure we get rid of that penalty. We've still got a 2 second penalty to take, and the guy behind us he's nearly 2.8 to 3 seconds behind us. So at this stage it looked like a fairly comfortable win. Be interesting to see how many people have got the penalties again in this race, because it's highlighting issues recently with how many penalties you're still seeing. You know, drivers are still not getting used to this penalty system because it's too erratic. It's too it's not consistent enough. You don't know when you're going to get one. You don't know when you're not. You can have brilliant racing going on, like I said at the BB Raceway when myself and Callum was racing side by side. It was really fun, and there was I didn't feel any contact. I don't know if he did. It didn't seem like anything that changed my driving. It felt perfectly fine. Then you come out the next corner, you get a 3 second penalty for no reason. I just wish they'd get rid of that, because it's kind of interfering with the racing sometimes. So hopefully, let's hope. I'm sure there'll be a May update coming very soon, hopefully to introduce a new tyre model, which has been rumoured to be coming in May's update. Whether it does or not, we'll have to wait and see, but hopefully they've got some changes, which someone has said they are looking into making changes, but I've heard other people say that they think the developers thought the penalty system was correct when they were at the live event. It seems like a lot of people are getting different opinions, so it could just be to do with Polyphony not understanding the questions was fully. Obviously they don't seem to be amazing with their English, so could just be that. As we see now, going over line, I've got to get rid of that 2 second penalty, and we've got P2 far enough behind not to really worry about that. We'll go over line, take the penalty and still get them in. But look at the penalties. 2 drivers in the whole race didn't get a penalty. Now that's not right. That's why I know a lot of drivers drive aggressively, but that's a little bit too much for myself. I think this is showing the issues in the game. Hopefully it gets sorted soon, and we're not putting up with these penalty situations for much longer. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. We're going to be back with more videos tomorrow, obviously, hopefully doing the FIA racing tonight, and then we'll get that out on Thursday. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do both FIA races. I might do, because I do like both tracks, but the priority is going to be the manufacturer race, and then if I've got time I might do a later race on the Nations race. Obviously I'm not worried about my position in the Nations Championship. I've only done 1 race, and that ended up with the bit of a disaster at Monza, so I didn't bother doing the next race after that. So concentrating on the manufacturer, see how we get along in that. We might do the Nations as well for an extra upload. Anyway, thanks again for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos, and we'll be back every single day with a GT Sport video. Thanks again for watching, everyone.